15 minutes. So anyway, we have time to discuss some slides. So I just wonder, I do the first time as a him to have the time to attend the lecture under this series, Observing the Belt and Road. Is it your first time? No, not your first time. Anyway, so this time, because last year I also shared the similar, I wouldn't say the identical, actually I changed some of the slides, similar approach to elaborate, to share about the Belt and Road Initiative. But I think this year, over these years, as I just experienced, I have a lot of reflection about the Belt and Road Initiative. So in the first part, I'm going to have more quickly flip over how Belt and Road come up together. And then in the later parts, we probably can, I would like to have more sharing from the construction perspective, which that actually we can discuss together. So it could be a presentation. I think I would prefer it becomes more discussion and the exchange of ideas. So I'm going to have outlines talking about how the Belt and Road comes from. Is that the idea only from Xi Jinping, President Xi Jinping, or it is the, well, when history comes to, at this point, this happened. So sometimes, if it's for Chinese, just be like that. So it just follow the flows, come all together. And then this time I will have sharing a lot more my thoughts on opportunity and challenge ahead, especially from the construction perspective. So we all know that it is the Asian Silk Road. Actually, what I draw your attention that the idea about this Euro-Asian connectivity, it doesn't come from President Xi, because 300 BC, which is more than 2,000 years ago, those people already done something like that. So it is not the invention by the President Xi Jinping. So that in Chinese, let's admit it. However, the Silk Road, when really the Silk Road came from, it comes from a German geographic people. Okay, this is the at that time the bedrock. I would rather say the bedrock is at that time at that time they have the railways already. So the German people they want to connect one railways from the Europe and going into the Asia. So that's why they sent a geographic people that he went through these areas. So and then he identifies what is the way that it's best to connect the rail. So building the rail from Europe to Asia, it is also not the inventions of President Xi. It comes from the Germany. And at that time, they think about the railway. It comes to new time. So this is the first Silk Road map, really the sketch drawn by the German people. And then they found that it is the railway routes they can go through like that. So, but what is the route? So these German guys give a romantic name called Silk Road. Why the Silk Road? Because Silk Road is at that time is the first item, a luxury item. That they can come from China or Asia, I would rather say Asia, because it is light. So we know the Silk Road is light, and for the Roman Empire, the ladies is so exposed, so soft, and then it can afford the long traffic. So that's why we think about the Silk Roads. It is about transportation, and it involves the railway. So again, railway, it is not the invention of the presidency. So, however, having said that, German people give a romantic road, which is called Silk Road. So the French people, they say that we are also very strong. So there's another French scholar, historian, say, no, we are not having the Silk Road. In fact, silk is only were only enjoyed by the few people. In fact, the most massive trade is spice. This type of spice. And how the spice can go around, because the spice, the origin is pretty come from the India, Southeast Asia, mainly this way. So people would like to go from this spice, which is for the daily life. It is cheap. It has to be cheap because it's household items. So it can't afford the camels. So it goes with the, from Maritimes going in from the this area and going into the Europe, because it's essential. So this is how the global routes come from. We'll have the Silk Road, which is represented by overland, and then we have the spice routes, is the Maritimes, and this is the context already done, right? It's several hundred years ago. So when we look at this map, which is prepared by UNESCO many years ago, long way before the Belt and Road initiated, this route, in fact, is very similar to today's Belt and Road economic corridor. So it is not very much the new revolutionary ideas over there. It has its historic roots over there. So just be fair. So in Silk Roads, usually we use Silk Roads. Sometimes, in fact, in the UN's one of the report that they remind us that we should not use Silk Roads. It is a Silk Roads. Over those years, they have a lot of roads. There's a lot of routes doing for that. And what they do is, of course, we can say Silk Road, you can represent by trade. In fact, they have a lot. They are more than the trade. They have the religion. It's like Buddhisms. They come on from the India, and then Christianity and Islamic. They go through the ways, and they have a lot of music. They have a lot of art, and they have a lot of knowledge, gunpowder. So that means that Silk Road is not really about the trade. So don't limit our imaginations for the economics. So the first ones who travel entire the overland, Silk Road and spice route. In fact, it is a Buddhism monk. This one, Fa Xian. He had already done it in this year 400 AC, which is 1,600 years ago. He is a monk at that time when he started from the China going into because he went to India to understand what is the real things about the Buddhism, go back to the real source of India. So at that time, I remember that he's 50-something or 60-something. He go here, and then in India he spends 10 or 14 years, 10 years, something like that in India. He learned a lot. But at that time, he was already 70 years old, something like that. He didn't get the energy to go back the overland. What he could do is that he take the maritime route, the fleet, from this way through the so-called spice route, in fact, and go back to the China. So this gentleman, he is the first person in the world, in the history, that he traveled both the Silk Road and spice route completely. So why he can do that? Why you and me can't do it? Because as the Sharon, I'm an economist. So why we can't do it? Because as economists, I want to make money. So of course, I go to the area. I don't need to go through all the ways to earn a tiny money. I just sell a little bit to this port, and I can go back. Sell my item to this port, and then go back. I can have more circulations, more cash flow, which I earn more money. But only the religious people, or I would say that, only the person who are passionate for their culture, their identity, religions. I think I don't want to use religions. The culture, passionate for culture. They don't care about the money. They go through all the routes. So it tells us the first thing that, because if you really want to travel around all the Belt roads, you can do it by pursuing money, which is less likely, but it is better that you love of the culture. So I travel. I've done this. I accept this job. It is not because of money. In fact, I don't really like this job, but it is the way that I can know a lot of people from the different countries. That happens from the Belt country. So this is the way that only the religion, only the culture factor, they can go through all the Silk Roads. So I remind you that. So that's why the people-to-people response is very important. And then the zero includes cover a lot of vector, cultural, political, and social, political, and geopolitical factor a lot. So actually, for the zero, it is never a systematic design. So it just you can sometimes people found that this route is easier, so we can go through these ways. So, like for instance, in I don't have the map this time. So, if for zeros going into China, so for the winter times, they will go into the north route because otherwise in the southern route it's very hot. In the winter time, they will go to the southern routes because it is more less cold. So that's why every time we need a lot of routes and land. So it tells us that why we need so many corridors, because different time you can go to different corridors, and sometimes because some corridors doesn't working because it has the war and some political tension or even the terrorists over there, so we better avoid it.